Alright guys, how are we doing today? Steve Mingleco, Final Web Design. Today's video, I want to talk about AI again. Is the AI bubble popping and what skills you're going to need here going into 2026 utilizing AI? So let's get into it. Final Web Design, this is Steve.
Actually is. See, here's the problem. AI will not replace programmers. I know that's not what you've been hearing. For the past 2 years, it's been nonstop. Devin marketed as the AI software engineer, tech CEOs saying AI will dominate their workforce, headlines screaming programming is dead, and the stats seem to back it up. For example, entry-level developer jobs dropped 20% since 2022. Microsoft's code is 30% AI written. Workers aged 18 to 24 are 129% more likely to worry AI will take their job. So if
that is one thing I would say. If I was in the younger generation, I would be a little bit hesitant thinking about what AI has done to kind of already invade the space. But then I think as this video kind of continues to explain, it's not that it's invading the space. It's just another tool in the space that you're going to be able to use. So I think that's where we're kind of going, is that don't be scared that AI is taking over. It's just another tool.
you're a CS student watching all of these headlines and watching AI solve your homework in seconds, the question naturally starts to form, what am I even doing this for? But here's what all the hype and all of the posts are missing. They're confusing what AI can actually automate with what programming actually is. See, here's the problem. Most people think that programming just looks like typing code. You sit down, open VS Code, write your functions, make things work, and if this was all that writing code and programming and development really was, then yeah, AI wins. Because AI is exceptional at writing syntax.
And that's the best thing, actually, is that even as a programmer developer for 10, 15 years now professionally, writing the syntax was never the fun part. That's never the part that you always have knowledge of. You have to kind of do research. You have to see what kind of features or plugin or creation you're trying to make to ultimately make sure that it's going to work. So I've never really enjoyed the actual coding. I've enjoyed taking all the parts of a business and making them work on the internet. So for me, this is a great thing. This is just another tool, as I've explained.
It's been trained on way more languages and frameworks than any human ever will. But the big misconception is that syntax was never the skill. You can ask any senior developer and they'll tell you they just expect you to learn new languages on the fly.
And that's what I was just saying. That was never the fun part. You always had to go do the research. You have to kind of learn these new frameworks, these new languages, whatever like UX features you're trying to make. You have to do some type of research or tutorial or something that's going to show you, guide you how to do that feature. I never enjoyed that. I never enjoyed that. I'm a businessman that also uses technology. So I've enjoyed and I think what AI is going to do is allow me to kind of use all these tools a lot better, the code, snippets, the syntax, along with, graphics, marketing materials, SEO tools, content, to then make technology, online websites better.
Because at the end of the day, typing code is really just the visible part, the part that we can see, measure, and now automate. And I think that's why all of these posts and that's why AI really looks so impressive. It's extremely good at the part that was already pretty mechanical. But what everyone's missing is that programming doesn't start with code, it starts with ambiguity. Real world problems arrive very messy and very poorly defined. Someone comes to you and says, we need this feature, or users are complaining about this thing, and none of this is going to come as a clean, solvable prompt for an AI. And that's why, as a developer, your first job isn't to write code, it's to figure out what the actual problem or goal is. And that requires context, business context, user context. You have to know
Business context, user context. You have to understand how these processes work now, as opposed to just the code itself. But this is great. This makes business, entrepreneurship, coding, programming just another tool to use in a business landscape. And that's why I like to think, like, if you are getting into computer science, if you are getting into technology, you really have to use your soft skills as well now to make yourself stand out in this world. But there's still a lot of opportunity. It's not going anywhere, I'll tell you
So,
that.
what questions to even ask? You need to be able to push back when requirements don't make sense. You need to be able to translate all of these vague goals into something concrete enough to build. And no AI or prompt is going to be able to fully capture that like a human can, because the problem itself isn't fully formed yet. It's discovered by sitting through meetings and through conversation and through iteration and having experience and experimenting. And even once you do know what to build, programming then is still about decisions. For example, making the decision that's more maintainable, or making the decision that leads to less technical debt. You need to think about what's going to happen when the system scales to multiple millions of users, or what if this breaks suddenly? And these questions aren't about what's correct right now, they're about consequences over time. And that's where I think AI really goes wrong, is it can only think about what's happening right now and what you've given it right now. But as a developer, your job is not to think about this right now, it's to think about the future and have a system that's scalable and able to be collaborated on by your peers. And so all of this is why I think the idea that AI is replacing programmers sounds very convincing but falls apart under scrutiny. Because AI can
Right? It sounds convincing and falls apart under scrutiny. How long have we been even talking about this now? Probably 2, 3 solid years that this was kind of coming. And it really is at the same place we've been talking about it. It hasn't taken over the industry by any means. It's just simply a tool.
generate the code, but it doesn't really own the outcome. It doesn't feel the cost of implementing an error and then discovering it months down the line and then having to refactor the entire system because of an AI generated mistake that could have been avoided in the first place. It doesn't get paged when your system crashes. It doesn't sit in meetings trying to balance different things and different trade-offs. All of these things are what humans and developers need to do. So all of these videos you might see of AI generating entire systems, or all of these demos, may look impressive because they show the final 10%, the part that was the easiest to automate because it was already formalized. But even when we do rely on AI for that 10%, here's what we're actually getting. CodeRabbit analyzed millions of pull requests and found AI-generated code contains 1.7 times more bugs than human code.
And you know why it's creating all these bugs? Is because it's not doing the exact feature that a human is going to go in there and code or program it for. Little syntax, as little code as possible to try to get that feature. Will it's as easy to maintain, it's as easy to kind of upgrade in the future if it's in a clean, organized, professional way. When you're using some of these tools like ChatGPT or Gemini, it is generating all this code, and a lot of it might be code that's maybe not best practice. And again, it goes in, and that's where you're seeing these issues.
Research from multiple universities found 40% of GitHub Copilot suggestions contain security vulnerabilities. Another study testing over 100 AI models found 45% of AI-generated code had exploitable flaws. GitClear analyzed 211 million lines of code and found an 8-fold increase in code duplication since AI tools became widespread. So here's what's actually happening when you use AI. It's generating code that looks fine. It probably passes all the tests and ships to production. But like I said, down the line, 6 months later, when you need to modify it, scale it, debug it for whatever reason, that's when you discover all of the wrongdoings that AI actually generated in the code. Could be duplicated logic or security vulnerabilities or over-engineered functions that an experienced engineer would have never done. So even though all of these AI demos and videos show you an app being built in 5 minutes, they don't show you the aftermath. And I think a really good example of this is the T app. I don't want to go too much in depth into it, but it was
Yeah, no business that I know has gone completely AI generative app because ultimately it doesn't work. You're not going to be able to go with a business a level of business standard by using an AI generative app that's going to put all of your business knowledge, your branding, your colors, your logo, I mean, all of this information that reflects your business is not going to come across as you want in an AI application right now. It might draw up a basic like theme or template, but that's nothing. I mean, that is like, as it's about to explain here, that's just a foundations for something that could then actually be built properly.
It was a vibe-coded app which was performing really well at the start until hackers were able to get into the entire database. Or when you see those posts of an AI generating an entire game in a minute, it may look decent for a minute of work, but is anyone actually going to scale this game and ensure that it's fully functional without bugs, without glitches, and the most important part, are real people actually going to play it? But that's not all to say that AI is useless. I think most people just have the wrong idea as to what AI is actually going to replace. It's not going to be software developers or programmers or engineers. So what is AI replacing? Well, to put it simply, it's the mechanical parts. All of the boilerplate code, the syntax translation, looking up documentation, all of the things that have been done thousands of times. And these never really work.
And there you go. All the things that have been done thousands. It's the repetitive tasks. It's the stuff that you don't want to do anyways. After you've been doing this, yes, as an entry level, it's good to know those things and to kind of make yourself familiar with these AI automated processes now. However, at the same time, you don't want to be wasting your time on this stuff anymore. You want to be thinking about the future and how to utilize these tools to be more productive.
Were the core skills of developers, they were just the tedious parts. They were necessary but not valuable on their own. And for these tedious parts, if you're thinking about it from a productivity standpoint, AI is really revolutionary and incredible at this. Microsoft found that developers using GitHub Copilot were able to complete tasks 56% faster. And that goes to show you the power of AI to complete these mechanical tasks. But I think what we all need to open our eyes to is that productivity tools don't eliminate entire roles. They just change what's expected of people in these roles. So AI is raising the baseline for what quote-unquote writing code means. The value of memorizing languages or frameworks or tools is now dropping, but the value of knowing what to build, why to build it, how to evaluate if it's correct, and having experience, well, that's all going up, because AI doesn't know when it's wrong unless a developer or an experienced person can tell it if it's wrong. All of this still lands on developers, which means in practice, the job shifts. There's going to be a lot less time spent on remembering syntax or writing code line by line. There's going to be a lot more time designing systems, reviewing AI outputs, thinking about trade-offs. The role is starting to shift more towards having better judgment and more experience than the actual execution of writing line by line code. And so this is why I think AI doesn't eliminate junior developers like a lot of people have been saying. It just changes what junior means. Anthropic's research on 500,000 coding interactions found that even with heavy automation, humans remain deeply involved in feedback loops. So entry-level developers who just copy patterns will struggle, but juniors who understand fundamentals, ask good questions, and have the experience to reason about systems will be able to accelerate faster than ever. So even though you might be able to use AI to scaffold an entire REST API in minutes and think that's impressive, if you then have to spend another 2 days debugging it or actually changing it to be able to scale, well, the AI isn't what failed, it was you that failed. Because
I think that's a really good point there to make, is that if you can use these tools and it's actually going to end up taking you longer to then customize and make that feature do exactly what you need or what the client needs, you've already lost using AI. And then you might as well just start from scratch, because ultimately sometimes customizing and just starting fresh is a lot more work, because you didn't originally build the code. It might be faulty code. A lot of the things might not be connected properly, like pulling CSS files, things like that. So I would just in a lot of cases it's going to be easier to just build it from scratch.
Because AI can give you speed, but it will never give you the understanding. And I think this is really going to widen the gap between good programmers and great programmers. Not because AI is going to favor experts, but because it amplifies whoever's using it. If you don't understand what you're building, AI will generate confident-looking nonsense. But if you do understand, then it becomes a huge leverage and time saver. So all of this is why I think programming and developing isn't disappearing, it's just being compressed. The low-level friction and low-level tedious things to do are now being removed, and what's left is what has always mattered, which is being able to think clearly about problems, systems, and consequences. So if you're learning to code right now, the question isn't whether AI will replace you, it's what kind of programmer are you becoming? So if you want to be the kind of programmer who has all of the skills necessary to thrive in the evolving world that is programming with all the new AI tools and with everything going on, well, that's why I use today's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant helps you excel in math and computer science with visual, interactive problem solving.
As you guys kind of saw there, and I'm going into a lot more AI videos because I do ultimately think that AI is going to be the topic that most people are going to be interested in here in 2026. And I'm also as interested because it is a very new topic, and we're all kind of learning as it comes forward and as we're seeing new versions and new softwares all together and new integrations of it. It's an exciting time. And I know a lot of people, and again, this has been a year or two where people are just hesitant to even kind of get in the field, and I just say don't be. I mean, there's never going to be a better time than right now to get into this field. Um, Tech isn't going anywhere. It's only going to continue to grow. So I hope you guys kind of like this video. Let's see if there's a little bit more here at the end after this promotion, or if we're just done. So yeah, it's done. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. That stuff helps, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.